according to my starship's instruments on Earth, where I'm from, wherever the solar system may be, it is March 5th, 2023. And today, tonight, whenever, I'm gonna get a rant started off this news article here. Let me bring it up on my visor so I can read the headline to you. This is from NBC News on cnbc.com. Headline reads, Senators unveil rail safety bill after Ohio train derailment. Yeah, so I will scoff at that later. For now, I'll just say that that will be the article that gets a rant going. So, got that going for me, which is nice. But first, introductions are in order. Welcome to the Doomsy McDoomscroller show, a philosophical science fiction podcast featuring realistic futurology and refreshingly heretical commentary on the news. I am your host, your fictional host, Doomsy McDoomscroller, and sometimes the show's writers have me referring to myself in the third person and breaking the fourth wall. This is not a normal show, and I guess what I mean by not normal is, if you get my live stream video, then you can see that I broadcast from a spaceship somewhere in a galaxy that doesn't really seem like the Milky Way. And in fact, Doomsy's been away from Earth for so long now that I no longer count as part of your culture. It seems that certain events, say sci-fi events in the multiverse, have extricated me from the dominant culture there on Earth. One might even say that a special mission made possible by alien tech got me out of civilized culture quite some time ago. Unfortunately, I can only embark on said mission by leaving the planet, leaving and getting lost somewhere on the other side of the universe in a malfunctioning starship, no less. So, while Doomsy is always a human, though fictional, and of course, being from Earth could never stop being an Earthling, I'm not civilized. I'm not part of your culture anymore. I'm just saying, Doomsy may sometimes refer to himself in the third person and break the fourth wall, but with regards to the second person, typically, usually, more often than not, whenever I refer to the second person, you, I mean you all, second person plural, everybody in your warmongering culture. By your culture, I'm talking about the catastrophic stampede of 8 billion of you. All y'alls. Not every human on Earth. After all, One single culture cannot, or at least should not, define the entirety of humanity. But nowadays, your culture's mythology has what? 99.9999% of all Homo sapiens caught. Y'all are caught in a stampede of stupidity, stampeding towards an ecological cliff. So yeah, by you, Doomsy means you all. Y'all refers to more than 8 billion farmers/pyramid builders, which will soon be at 9 billion farmers/pyramid builders. But who knows, maybe before your numbers plummet, y'all will count 10 billion farmers/pyramid builders. And the reason you'd see another decade or so of growth before complete collapse is that what y'all practice on a daily basis, indirectly, if not directly, is holy war agriculture. Yeah, holy war. Obviously. Look, your culture is waging war versus Earth all the time. Part-time, full-time, overtime, war. Y'all have been annually increasing the production of food surpluses since your culture began about 10,000 years ago. And every year, it has fueled exponential population growth. With some of you modern civilized folks crying, "Oh, population growth is out of control." Well, it's not. It's not. You're fueling it. But that, look, that's who I mean by y'all. That's what I mean by you. Now, to more second person singular, if you, as an individual listener, if you want more sci-fi backstory, or if you'd like your questions or comments to become part of the show, just send a voice message by going to the show's website, Doomsy McDoomscroller.com. You can even be insulting and get your voice message played on the show. Just make your audio comment interesting and provoking, if insulting. And when sending the show's fictitious host voice message, understand this. McDoomscrolling exists for entertainment purposes only. This show is purely a work of art. Doomsy and all other characters in the show do not represent the beliefs or opinions of anybody real, and no identification with actual persons, living or deceased, is intended or should be inferred. And please know that Doomsy's the one who takes on 100% of the feedback. Know that the fictional host of this show responds in character, in a scientific storytelling of the real world. Expect the show's writers to make it so that Doomsy has the elephant in the room calling out Egyptian crocodiles. But even if you're in denial, you can still keep in mind when sending the show a voice message that Doomsy's been away from Earth for so long now that I'm not one of you. I'm not one of you civilized people. I no longer count as part of your culture. And I won't sugarcoat stuff. So mind your fifis, okay? Here we go. With some scrolling. Some doom scrolling so you don't have to. Right? And, what's with the warnings about doom scrolling? Come on. Doom scrolling is bad for your health. Yeah, so is ignoring a fire alarm in the middle of the night. That could be bad for your health. Just putting your head in the sand. Here we go. Senators This is the article that starts it tonight. Senators unveil rail safety bill after Ohio train derailment. Okay, now I will actually scoff. Right? Now, I'm not scoffing for reasons you might think. I mean, yeah, do I think, the Senate can, or Congress, or the House, or whoever in Washington D.C. Do I think they can actually become organized enough to put some legislation through? I don't know. Who knows? It's all just grid stuff, right? I mean, government is not really there to change or do anything. Government's there to just keep the status quo, to perpetuate your culture, because it's a product of your culture. So I don't know, but let's say that this is going to happen. Okay, that these, what gets me. Well, let's look at a couple others here. Animals. Here's another headline. This is New York Post. Animals falling sick, dying near hellish Ohio train derailment site. Falling sick, dying near hellish Ohio train derailment site. Animals are falling sick and dying near the site of a hellish Ohio train derailment last Friday, which released toxic chemicals into the air, according to reports, sparking fears of the potential health impacts the crash could have on humans. Okay, because I don't know, I'm broadcasting this from the other side of the universe, so I don't know if it's even hitting the Milky Way. My friends tell me that they can broadcast it across the planet, so I don't know where you are on Earth. Maybe you haven't heard, but Ohio's just a state in the USA, and there was a train crash there. Oh, here's some backstory. Some backstory on this topic. There was a train crash there that a few weeks ago. It's basically like, I don't know, detonating a chemical weapon. Okay, a weapon of mass destruction. Chemical weapon exploded, or just maybe didn't explode so much. I mean, it was a huge fire, mushroom cloud. I mean, it was a mess. Still is a mess. Of course, there's mess everywhere. Everywhere your culture goes. Certainly everywhere trains go, right? Let's look at a couple more of these, okay? Here's another headline. This is from the Washington Post. This article about all the death and destruction. More than 43,000 aquatic animals are dead near Ohio train derailment. This was published February 23rd. Ohio residents, the article goes on, Ohio residents with headaches and nausea around the site where a train carrying hazardous chemicals veered off the tracks are worried about the long-term impact of the derailment on human health. But the effect on animals is already becoming clear. Yeah, and maybe a lot of people don't get it, but the effect on animals is already becoming clear. Humans are animals. We are animals. Ohio, that was the Washington Post. Here's another headline. Yahoo News. Ohio train derailment leads to dead animals in contaminated waterways. And then to come full circle here, the Railway Safety Act of 2023. Senators propose bipartisan bill due to Ohio train derailment. Oh, well, at least something's good's going to happen out of all this death and destruction, right? Well, you're going to get the Railway Safety Act. Woohoo! Right? Everything's going to be fine now. Sleep easy. Look, even if these yahoos can get this thing passed, what does it matter? It doesn't matter. Look, this is really just another NIMBY story, right? NIMBY, NIMBY, not in my backyard. Right? This is not in my backyard. Right? Because, like, the Railway Safety Act. When have the railways been safe? I mean, we're just talking chemical warfare wise. Look, I'll tell you what happens if you get on the internet. You get on the series of tubes here and you Google image search steam locomotive. Okay, you're going to see some old trains, right? I mean, coal. I mean, find yourself a black and white photo. So trains go way back, right? There wasn't even color photos. And it's just billowing, just huge toxic clouds of, it's burning coal. You think it gets all that better with diesel? You want to be paragliding behind that locomotive, just breathing in deep. All those fumes, the exhaust. So really, I mean, everywhere these trains going, there's just poison, just billowing out, just blatantly. Just coal or diesel, whatever. So, now the Railway Safety Act of 2023. All right, well, because humans, who cares about all the other animals? Look, okay, here's what Doomsy's here to tell you. Here's what's gonna happen in the coming years. Generation Alpha, Generation Beta are gonna start talking about leaving. It's gonna be a trend, the abandonment of civilized culture. Because your culture, it sucks. It sucks for people. Not just people, but all other animals on Earth. It sucks. The Railway Safety Act of 2023. Come on. You think that's going to do anything? Look, I guarantee you it won't. And Doomsy can guarantee this. Okay. Here's another article. Actually, there's another article. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up from Los Angeles, from the Los Angeles Times. Actually, here's a Wikipedia entry on the 2021 Orange County oil spill. This Wikipedia page says, the Orange County oil spill on October 1st, 2021, is an oil spill that deposited crude oil onto popular Southern California beaches on the west coast of the United States. While residents reported smelling fumes, a ship noticed an oil slick that evening and reported it to federal authorities. So they had to close crowded beaches. And what was the response? Here's a headline of an article from the Associated Press. Headline reads, California oil spill renews calls to ban offshore drilling. And from the Los Angeles Times headline, Orange County oil spill renews calls to ban offshore drilling. So, ban it offshore. That means just offshore, close to shore, right? They ban it offshore. Move it like way, way offshore, far from, because who cares about all the other things that are living out in the ocean, right? We just don't want it washing up on our beaches. That's insane. Your culture is insane. You're fine with just killing all the wildlife around you? You're an animal. There's non-human animals, you know. And if you don't like it, if it's not good for that, you know, they have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats too in their body, you know. That's same as Homo sapiens. You know, it's not wise strategy, ban offshore. You know, it's amazing how there's no investigative journalism. How is this happening? The trains, the chemical weapons, Look, here is why Generation Alpha is going to abandon civilized culture, or they're going to try, because your culture's doomed. Your culture is done. It's game over. It's never been sustainable. Waging war versus a planet, the very planet from which you evolved, the planet to which you belong. You want to act like the planet belongs to you. You want to act like planet conquerors. Your culture has all of you futilely working to conquer a planet. You're never going to conquer it. All you're going to do is just destroy all the precious habitats needed for animals like you. That's what you'll accomplish. You're not going to get this delusion of grandeur confirmed. It's not going to happen. So it's unsustainable. It's gonna end and soon. And soon. Okay, now the Railway Safety Act. Let's get back to this headline here. The Railway Safety Act of 2023. Senators propose bipartisan bill due to Ohio train derailment. Ooh, bipartisan bill. Bipartisanship. Oh, so wonderful. This is something they can come together on, right? Write as many laws as you want. Look, here's what a law did for y'all. Okay, this is from The Hill. We'll skip the headline here. I'm going to go down to the paragraphs at the top of the story. It says, story at a glance. It's got 3 bullet points here. The first bullet point says, a new report by the Environmental Integrity Project has found that 50 years since the passage of the Clean Water Act, the country's waterways are severely polluted. The report found about half of the river and stream miles and lake acres across the U.S. are too polluted for swimming, fishing, or drinking. Don't drink the water. Don't eat the fish out of the water. Don't even go swimming in the water. This is the result of the Clean Water Act, passed into law 50 years ago. It's fallen well short of its goals, a new analysis finds. The third bullet point says, researchers argue the Environmental Protection Agency needs to update water assessment regulations and allocate more funding for staffs and resources. Oh, yeah, that's what was missing, right? Just more laws, more words to the law, and the updates. Oh, and money. That's going to fix everything, right? But didn't fix this. You had some money. Maybe you just didn't have enough. Clean Water Act. Got to update that, huh? Update a law that says don't poison the water you're drinking. So this headline, this was from a year ago. This article. About half of U.S. water too polluted for swimming, fishing, or drinking, report finds. 50 years since the Clean Water Act. So that's the Clean Water Act. And look what that got y'all. Sewage. So you got this Railway Safety Act of 2023. You know, it's what, you think it'll be successful because of bipartisanship? I would think the Clean Water Act, I would think that was bipartisanship too, wasn't it? You know, what? Are you kidding me? You really think that the Ohio train derailment, that something's good gonna come out of that? You think something good is gonna come out of that? No, look, laws ain't gonna do anything. The stampede is moving. You're going to add $1 billion. You know, this is the point that you're at with your culture. This is why this show is realistic futurology. Realistic futurology. Because, you don't got time to develop the infrastructure and the gadgetry and the technology for a robot apocalypse. For yourself to be scared of AI or anything. There's no time for that. You'll never get there. You know, realistic futurology. This is from a Fox News affiliate. This article here, headline: eating one fish from U.S. lakes, rivers, equal to a month of drinking forever chemicals water, study says. So eat one fish. You know, okay, so, what do we do about this? I guess we better not eat fish, or shouldn't drink the water. The water is what's making the fish become poison. So, if we come up with something, you can come up with something so maybe you get the PFAS out of the water, but the fish are in it. They're swimming in it. They're breathing it. They're drinking it. The other animals are drinking it. So did this happen because laws? You didn't have the right laws, or you just didn't know the chemistry at the time, and so you couldn't have written the correct laws. Look, humanity is not necessarily doomed, but civilized culture is. Now, culture is not what you have, it's what you do. Culture is not what you have, it's what you do. So beyond civilized culture, if Gen Alpha, Gen Z can save Gen Beta, and maybe there'd be another generation after that, is that possible? The successful abandonment of civilized culture could happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean people be like living without electricity, for example. Who knows? I don't know. Doomsy doesn't know. I'm no soothsayer. You don't got to, predict the future. You don't need a crystal ball. Here's a headline from physics.org, Science Journal, phys.org. Physics or physical science. Eating one wild fish, same as month of drinking tainted water. So, civilized culture is not working out. Waging war versus Earth, turns out, it's not a good idea. So why do you think Gen Z is thrilled about it? Gen Alpha is going to be even less enthusiastic about getting what you want to hand off to them. Right? I mean, that's what you want to, that's what you're going to do, right? It's all up to you now. Here you go. Good luck with Parliament or Congress or your imams and popes and your senators and your millionaires, your billionaires. Good luck with those guys. Good luck with. You really think those people are leaders? They're in the stampede too. They're just, don't have their feet in contact with the ground. They're a couple levels up on the stampede. Right? They're on some furniture on top of a layer of people who's on top of a layer of people. So, they're the rich folk, the neo-pharaohs. They've got a comfortable, well, maybe it's not that comfortable, really. It's a stampede. They're on top. But that's not leadership. They're not leading. They're nobody special. They only have the power to put down revolutions that tried to swap them out, that tried to exchange people, that tried to rearrange the content of the socio-economic hierarchies. Anything else that they can't do anything about. I mean, they're really powerless to stop people from walking away from the war. Doomsy might get confused for doom and gloom, but it's not doom and gloom. Look, your culture's done, and that, why should that even be bad news? Look what your culture does. It just kills fish and chickens and other people. I mean, you're waging war against each other in the midst of the war you're constantly waging versus Earth. Who wants to be a soldier all their life? So you think the Railway Safety Act, it's a joke. Let him pass it. Okay, maybe I'd be surprised if they can get that passed. They're probably looking for political points. Oh, it's bipartisan. Oh, they're so different. These parties could come together. Let them pass it. Railway Safety Act. We got Clean Water Act. Clean Water Act. What's the result? Poisonous fish? Trip to the hospital because you went swimming? It's not that you jumped off a rock and hit another rock in the water. No. Trip to the hospital because you were simply in the water. Railway Safety Act. So you think Gen Alpha is going to want any of this? Gen Z doesn't seem that interested. Gen Z doesn't seem that interested in these acts. Clean Water Act, Railway Safety Act. What are they going to do? You know, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Socialism, capitalism, communism, whatever kind of ism you got for your economy, you still got a socio-economic hierarchy. You still got masses of peasants, and some nobles, like a upper middle class, and then you got the royals at the top, the neo-pharaohs. Back in ancient Egypt, what was it? It was one pharaoh. Now you got what? 100,000 pharaohs, neo-pharaohs, maybe 1 million neo-pharaohs, 8 billion people, dragging stones, building pyramids, because you think you have to. You think you think that your humanity, you think that your culture is humanity. You think that the only way to be human is to have pharaohs. You got to have kings and queens, millionaires, billionaires, rulers, leaders. I mean, that's the only way. It's what defines humanity. Well, you know, that clearly ain't the truth. So as more and more people, you know, start figuring it out, there's going to be more and more movement towards abandonment of civilized culture. And it's not going to take any kind of critical mass. It's going to be done bit by bit. There's going to be no leaders. Doomsy certainly ain't no leader. I don't even know if I got one listener. I don't even know that. I know this. There's at least 1 million people. At least 1 million people were thinking the kind of heresy that I'm speaking now. There are at least 1 million people thinking this kind of heresy long before I ever got lost on the other side of the universe, long before I ever started thinking, you know what? The problem isn't people, the problem is culture. Yeah, civilized culture, civilized with a capital C. You know, let's just write some laws. And taxes. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. It's ridiculous. You know, so why will it continue when it can't? You know, it can't. You wage war, can't be perpetual. You turn the entire globe into a battleground. That can't continue. Not indefinitely. So, I know there's all kinds of questions. Actually, sometimes I can get some communiques going with real people on Earth. Not a broadcast, but actual conversations. And sometimes I can get connected to my friends, my close friends, and they'll tell me about conversations they've had. And I'll tell you, I I know Gen Z is like, what could be done? Look, I don't know. Doomsy doesn't know. People, we don't, especially Doomsy. I'm older Gen Y. I've been plugged in for so long. I don't know, but here's one thing for sure. It's going to be a conversation topic. People are going to be talking about it. And that's just the natural progression anyways. I mean, a sequence of anything before something's done, you think about it. You talk about it. And you got to be open to that conversation. If you care about Gen Alpha at all, the babies that are being born now. I don't know if I'm going to make it to this planet ahead of me. I'm in the middle of space right now. You might be able to hear a whole fleet of cargo ships. I'd like to make it back to Earth. This is realistic futurology because I'm kind of in the same boat as Gen Alpha. I mean, I'm going to die a lot sooner. But I don't know. Look, I got the Earth on my dashboard. Constantly remind me where I'm trying to get back to. It might take decades for me to get back. In 20 years, what's going to be left? 30 years. Most forests will be gone if civilized culture continues at all costs. If it continues to do its thing until it can't anymore. And soon enough, it won't be able to anymore. Soon enough. Look what one little virus did to y'all. Your supply chains. Yeah, what do you think's going to happen to your supply chains when there's more plastic in the ocean than fish? That's going to be sometime around, I don't know, mid 21st century. What do you think is going to happen to your fragile supply chains when most of Earth's forests are gone? You're at about 30% forest gone right now. Deforestation. That's practically a defining characteristic of your culture. So that's not going to stop until collapse, till complete collapse. So I know response from Gen Z. I know you're hearing this from Gen Y, older Gen Y. What do we do? Well, look, start talking about it. And if you're older than Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, you're a boomer and you care about Gen Alpha, you care about humans existing on Earth beyond the 22nd century, start talking. There's no reason to try to keep waging war. What's the point? Let it go. Walk away. I don't know how. There's no way I can even. I'm out here on the other side of the universe. I should be able to imagine all kinds of incredible things, but I have no idea. what lifestyles will be like in a couple hundred centuries, or even in a couple centuries, just 1 century. But if there's people on Earth, they're going to be living so differently, you or I won't be able to recognize them. You know, these people writing the Railway Safety Act, same people who wrote the Clean Water Act. Those people are you. That's you. You're doing it. Oh, the corporations. Oh, the capitalism. That's you. You're all part of it. I know you may feel powerless because you're at the bottom of the pyramid, but the pyramids wouldn't exist if not for pyramid builders. And really, it's a mythology. It's belief that makes you do what you're doing. The warmongering, the pyramid building. Now, farming is holy war agriculture. Do you really need to increase food production? I mean, was it really necessary to go from 4 billion in 1975 to 8 billion? What need was there for another 4 billion warmongers in 1975? But you're already compiling quite a list of wars between each other. So, it's another 4 billion warmongers. The only way to do that is keep increasing food production. Stop waging war. No, these people are not leaders. Railway Safety Act. That's going to do nothing. Nothing. Let them pass it. So, Doomsy, this is why this is a different show on politics. Because political activism, I don't know. I don't encourage that. I don't discourage it, but I can't say that if I was on Earth, I'd be doing any of it. Because look what it accomplishes. Look what your laws get you. Clean Water Act. Poisonous fish. Don't go swimming. But Railway Safety Act. You think that's not going to happen again? It just won't, not in my backyard. Let's ban offshore drilling. We don't want to smell it or see it. It's okay if it just spew filth all over the ocean floor or somewhere else. Gen Alpha can't. How are they going to deal with that? It's just so stupid to expect. These next generations, you can see the changes. Quiet quitting. The end of civilized culture, if that's one of the signs, that's a good thing. Civilized culture ain't working out too well for too many of you. The promises of it aren't being realized. By a whole lot. By a significant number. So, that's my rant. That's Doomsy's rant on the Railway Safety Act of 2023. It's going to do nothing. Nothing for you. It's going to do nothing for Gen Alpha. What are you doing? You're just changing the weapons of war. But you're still waging war. so you can limit what kind of weapons y'all are using. So basically, the Railway Safety Act, it was like the Clean Water Act. Basically, it just delineates like war crimes. The war goes on. It's like is there really justice when war crimes happen? Even if there are arrests and prosecutions made? I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect from Gen Alpha? They're going to want nothing to do with y'all. I don't know how things are going to shape out. That's obvious to me, and at least a million other people. At least a million other people. Before it became obvious to me, it was obvious to them, or at least a million others. So it's millions, you could technically say. And what was obvious is this. Civilized culture is doomed. Humanity, not necessarily so. Because you're not humanity. You're a soldier in a war. You're part of a warmongering culture. You wage holy war agriculture while you wage war versus each other. Your culture, it's ridiculous. You think you have to have neo-pharaohs because you think that you're a member of a species like gods, and so what? Some people should just live in just such ultra luxury and have so much excess, and that just confirms your delusion of grandeur, does it? Just like the little smartphones, the gadgets you got in the palm of your hand now. It's just more what you think is confirmation of the delusion of grandeur that your entire culture is based on. And even I think even more than, that's the smartphones, the gadgets you put in the palm of your hand. As much as that feeds your delusion of grandeur, nothing feeds your delusion of grandeur like having neo-pharaohs. The neo-pharaohs among you, right? Isn't that what really makes you think, oh, we are like the gods? Look, some of us are, Bezos, he's launching rockets, joyrides into low orbit. Gods can do that. You're part of it somehow. Your culture, here's what your culture does. Because I want to explain this, because most people are good. The vast majority of people are just good people. You all want the same thing. You all want more security in your life. And your culture makes it really hard to get. No one's perfect. There's good, there's bad, and everybody. But, for the most part, the vast majority of people are good people. And you all have to deal with, greed, hatred, fear, within yourselves and amongst each other. You all have to deal with that because it's part of being human. So, humans are not broken monkeys. Evolution hasn't caused all these problems. It's one culture. It's your culture that's caused this. Because what your culture does, what you do, what y'all do, is, as a society, you systematically filter through all y'alls to find the most greedy, the most power hungry, the most ruthless people amongst you. And then you elevate them in the socioeconomic hierarchies that y'all support. And let me tell you, Beijing, Brussels, Washington, D.C., capitalism, communism, socialism, whatever kind of ism, it's all just a pyramid of pyramid schemes. No matter how you go about it. And you can say, oh, they didn't do it right. Oh, that wasn't real socialism, or that wasn't real, it wasn't really a free market. Or, the means of production weren't really owned by or controlled by the people. Those details don't matter. It's cultural. Your problem is cultural. And so I think it would behoove you older generations to be open to talking with the younger generations. Be honest. Look, I've read some articles. I've read some comment threads about environmental disasters. And I know some of you feel sick about it. Like you feel like you're just lying. You're just lying to your kids. Lying to the next generation. I don't know if you're lying. Lying means you know the truth and you're hiding it. Not maybe you know the truth subconsciously. There's millions of people. It's not hard to figure out. Civilized culture is a war versus Earth. So you got to get over the word civilized. You think it's something special. You think it's something superior that humans can have, that humans can attain. It's not. It's just a sound. It's a word. It's a sound that refers to your culture of farmers / pyramid builders. That's all it is. Get through the stigma, all the mythology around this word. Civilized culture, if it's something special, it's only special because it's working so hard to cause the extinction of your species. That's what makes it special, huh? So, and being honest, if you want to be honest with the next generation, fess up! Fess up. Say it, pyramid building, that's akin to waging war. I mean, you kind of got to wage war, conquer, have dominion, subdue the planet. You know that translation? Subdue. From ancient Hebrew. You know I'm talking about, the most famous story in the world, don't you? Genesis. Right? Subdue. You know, probably a better English word for that ancient Hebrew is rape. The planet. Yeah. That's what y'all are doing. Because you got to have kings. You got to have queens. You got to have millionaires, right? You got to have pharaohs. It's what defines you. Abandoning civilized culture just means abandoning the war. Doesn't mean you got to necessarily go without electricity, or that any one people would. Welcome back diversity to lifestyles. I think it'd be best to go with the flow. Predicting the flow. It's not hard to predict. Doomsy is no soothsayer. Why is Gen Alpha going to want more of this? So in a decade, the Railway Safety Act, that's just going to be, let's just hope train crashes don't happen in backyards, right? We just don't want a NIMBY incident. The Railway Safety Act is going to do nothing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, the derailments are happening quite frequently. And even if they weren't, but you still can't eat the fish. You still can't eat the fish because of your culture, what your culture is doing. And that's the good news, because it's your culture that's doing it, not your species. You can't change your species. You can't escape being a Homo sapien. I can't. I'm on the other side of the universe. I'm still a human. I go to a trading outpost, people look at me funny. They've never seen me before. I'm not one of the local species out here. One of the local races. There's a human race. That's all you got. One human race. It's the human race. There ain't no such thing as race. So, I don't know. Are you wasting time trying to be anti-racist? If you just keep talking about race and racism and race and racism all the time, is that helping anything? If you never mention that there's no such thing as race, that there's just a human race, and it belongs to Earth, not the other way around. Earth doesn't belong to people. So the culture is going bye-bye. It just can't continue. Can't. It won't. So you can be worried, I don't want to have to give this up, or how are we going to do this? Maybe this would be uncomfortable. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe other people. Maybe people in power won't let change happen. Look, they got no choice. They're in the stampede too. They're caught in the same stampede. There's nothing they can do to stop the stampede from slowing down. The only people who can stop the stampede are the ones with their feet on the ground. People riding on tops of shoulders and on furniture on tops of shoulders. There's nothing they can do. If the stampede starts to slow, come to a stop, and say no more kings, queens, no more pharaohs. You know, we lived as a species for hundreds of thousands of years without pharaohs. If you want to live as a species another 100,000 years, a few 100,000 years, maybe, I don't know, millions of years, give up the pharaoh system. Stop pyramid building. Stop with the holy war agriculture. You ain't never going to do it anyways. You're never going to conquer Earth. You're never going to subdue it. Earth can make the Mississippi River go backwards. You can't do that. No matter how many bombs and tanks and weapons you got. So, Railway Safety Act, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the Railway Safety Act. If it gets passed, if it doesn't, it won't matter. It doesn't matter to Gen Alpha. There's a much bigger fish to fry. Oh, and by the way, you probably shouldn't eat the fish if you do fry them. Just from the frying pan to the garbage. Maybe just skip the frying pan step and just put it in the garbage because you poisoned all that stuff. So that's what you're trying to hand off to Gen Z, to Gen Alpha, to Gen Beta then. Why are they going to want that? You can't figure it out. You guys are failures at something that's futile anyways. And you believe you're under the, divine instructions of inept gods. You just can't get it right. Somehow all the other animals and species function on the planet, but with humans, you're just a bunch of broken monkeys. When that's not the case, clearly. Doomsy's from California originally, so that's why these articles sometimes centered on the U.S. But it's the same. I mean, it's going on. It's going on that way. In China, what you think? You think the lakes and the rivers in China? You want to just drink straight from those water sources, those waterways? Eat the fish out of there? Good luck. Neo-pharaohs aren't necessary. I guess unless you believe that they are. All right, it's just a big pyramid scheme. Big pyramid building scheme. The entirety of your culture. Got going in various places. Back in the day, 10,000 years ago. And it's still going. Still going. Not for much longer. Railway Safety Act, that's not gonna solve anything. Clean Water Act didn't solve anything. Laws, write more laws, you're only just gonna have more and more war criminals, war crimes. But, declaring a war crime doesn't stop a war. It doesn't. All right, before I go, Doomsy's going to tell you how you get a tyrannical king, a tyrannical pharaoh, a neo-pharaoh, tyrannical royalty. I don't care whatever you want to call them. Prime Minister, President, CEO. If you feel that you're suffering from any degree of tyranny, if you feel you are suffering from any degree of tyranny from someone, something, let me tell you how that came about. Because there's only one way. There's only one way that you can get a tyrannical king. And that's to first have kings. If you didn't have kings and queens, there'd be no worry about suffering under a tyrannical king or queen. And don't let them fool you. They want you to believe that they're different. They all agree. They all agree. That's the one thing they all agree on, is that they're different, that they have a better system. It keeps them kings and queens of their own pyramid building schemes. Whether it's socialism, communism, capitalism, whatever kind of ism. That's all the same. And you put them there. That's what your culture does. Finds the worst of the worst, makes them powerful, gives them the power they're hungry for, feeds the greed that they've become known for. And is that what you're going to fight to keep? That culture? When Gen Alpha is struggling, you want to hand that off. You think that's fair? Gen Alpha ain't going to think it's fair. Gen Z doesn't think it's fair. I mean, more and more. Isn't there a lot of Gen Y thinks they got a raw deal? I don't know what to do. I don't know what you should do as far as like physical action. I guess other than, what? Vocal sounds. That's a physical action, right? So I guess one thing you can do is just talk. That's got to be the first thing. You got to fess up. Stop being an Egyptian crocodile. Stop living in denial. The culture's done. And it doesn't work out for that many people anyways. So it's kind of good news. Civilized culture sucks. For most people, for the vast majority of people. Guaranteed sucks for 100% of all non-human animals. Guaranteed sucks for all of them. The only individuals that, civilized culture doesn't suck for are the pharaohs. And I guess maybe mid-level pharaohs. So many pyramids. 8 billion pyramid builders nowadays. So many pyramids. There's so many different levels. of royalty, I guess, right? And just how much happiness, how much security. So don't expect Gen Alpha to want what you're offering. You can expect Gen Alpha to look for a way out. It's going to become more and more obvious. This culture is going to continue. That your culture is just one of war. Giving it up? What are you really giving up? What are you really giving up? Pyramid building? Oh, life is going to be so difficult without building pyramids. So, you want to do something powerful? Talk about how this Ohio train crashing is really just another NIMBY story. Talk about how the Railway Safety Act is going to do nothing. And don't stress on whether the senators are going to, is there going to be bipartisanship? Don't worry. It doesn't matter if it passes or not. It doesn't. If it passes, that means what? It means what? Oh, there's fines to pay for detonating chemical weapons, for crashing your trains? It might be worth going around whatever regulations might be set up. Oh, don't worry about it. Railway Safety Act of 2023, it's a joke. It's a bunch of bullshit. Because they don't know the truth. That, making a list of war crimes ain't doing anything to make the war a pleasant experience for people. It's just not. Oh, a new list of war crimes that people can commit. Things will be better now as the war goes on. So that's the good news. Good news is you don't got to worry about the politics in Washington, D.C. Those people, they don't matter like some people think they matter. They're not leaders. They're not. They aren't going to accomplish anything. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get a picket sign. You don't have to protest. You don't even got to vote. You saw what the Clean Water Act has accomplished. Railway Safety Act of 2023. It doesn't matter. What matters is being honest, being open with Gen Alpha, Gen Z. Telling them that your utopian, your foolish utopian fantasy ain't never coming true. You're a civilized culture. You know it's not gonna. I mean, look at your science fiction. Look at the art. The art projects. the number of art projects that are give a utopian sense of a future versus the art projects that give a dystopian sense of a future. Be open, be honest. Look what the Clean Water Act did. Railway Safety Act of 2023, not going to make anybody safer. Erin Obrakovich, I saw her on CNN or something. It's the people, it's the people, it's about the people, the people. Yeah, it's really sad. It is, it's really sad. What it's the people, it's the people whose backyard it happened in. Yeah. But, the reality of it is, you don't have a backyard. Nobody really owns the earth. All this warfare that's happening against it. You aren't able. See, here's the thing, Erin Obrakovich. Okay, you believe you're doing what you can, fighting the good fight, right? It's about the people in their backyards. And what? Suing. Money, compensation for a backyard that was ruined, for health that was ruined because of the backyard damage and destruction. So not in my backyard. Tougher laws so we don't even have to do lawsuits for those people over there because their backyards will be protected. There's not enough backyards to protect. You'll never... Even if you yourself can get your backyard completely shielded somehow, you think, okay, right? Push through. Here's something. Push through 1,000 laws. A Railway Safety Act, a Clean Water Act. Keep pushing through a bunch of acts and laws to protect your backyard and maybe your neighbor's backyard too. However localized you want to get. Get your backyard safe, clean. So you got your little patch of land, that earth, that's yours, right? That's your earth. You got that protected, right? Well, you're wrong. You're wrong. Your backyard is an illusion. First of all, it's not yours. And second of all, there's no real borders. There's no boundary to your backyard. This land is not yours. It's not even just like one yard. It's connected to everything. Interconnected to everything. So these NIMBY laws, these NIMBY reactions to environmental disasters, it's a waste of time, waste of effort. They're talking about this on the news, Railway Safety Act. They're talking about some guy who killed his family, murder trial. They're not talking about how y'all are killing yourselves by waging war versus Earth. The Railway Safety Act. When have the railways been safe? Haven't the rails always been kind of a NIMBY thing? I mean, how much, you put in a railway close to a house, or you buy a house next to a railway. I mean, that's not good for property values. You want to sleep next to a rail? Trains going by? Just the noise pollution alone. Even if you think, okay, I can breathe well enough to go a decade there. How are you going to get a decent night's sleep? All kinds of pollution you got to deal with. Steam engines, coal, diesel. When have locomotives been? They've always just been this traveling poison emitter, right? Everywhere they go. But I guess because it's acute now, the pollution's in high enough concentrations that we get a NIMBY, a real NIMBY call. The real NIMBY cries of NIMBY. Not in my backyard. A Gen Alpha is not going to see it that way. I think more and more Gen Alpha, as they get older, they're going to be looking for something sustainable. And not for like personal preference or stylish reasons, because it's just absolutely necessary. Civilized culture has never been, is not now, and never will be sustainable in any way, shape, or form. And that is the elephant in the room that makes news commentary in the Doomsy McDoomscroller show confusing for Egyptian crocodiles. What's doomed? Your culture. Humanity? No, not necessarily. Who wants to go down with the sinking ship? Y'all better stop arguing about the decorations, the furniture in an apartment building that's on fire. The Railway Safety Act of 2023. Yeah, good luck with that. Doomsy's out.